5. 7:05, exactly 7:05 now. And Barbara, Renee, Martin, and Mike. Okay. We were all in attendance last time, so people should have the minutes. I think I sent.
Yeah, got them.
And if that looks okay to everybody, it's kind of, last meeting we did a lot of talking, so I was trying to keep track of everything we said, but it got a little scrambled for me at some point, so I hope those are okay. If they are, we can approve them. We can vote to approve the minutes. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor?
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to mention something about the open meeting law. You know, it's come up a couple of times, and that's one of the reasons why I try to not talk about things until we actually start the meeting. But one of the things we have to be careful about is when I send out a message to people, I send it out to everybody, but and it's only just the agenda and just the meeting notes, and to ask for any input on the upcoming agenda. Anything more than that, we really can't discuss online and through email. And it would be helpful if we, and I've done this myself, so I'm not saying that it's not impossible. I get confused also. Make sure that if you reply just to one person, not to all, because then it starts looking like we're having an online meeting. And we also have to be really careful of what they call a rolling quorum, so that, for example, if Barbara texted me and then I said, oh, let me check with Martin, and I texted Martin, and then Martin texted with, Lisa, that's basically a rolling quorum, and we're not allowed to do that either. So just be aware of those things, that literally online, all we can discuss is time for the meeting, an agenda for the meeting.
Agenda items.
We can't, agenda items, we can't talk about, why is there a thing here on my, I hope I don't click us off, but I have something right in the middle of everybody. I'm going to try something. Okay, there it is. I'm sorry. I'm always afraid to push a button because I'm afraid I'm going to click off. I'm sorry. It was just the agenda. What's on the agenda? Minutes. I send out minutes, and I do ask for input, but we do not discuss any of those things unless we are actually in a meeting. Even opinions should not be voiced.
Here.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to be careful with that.
Renee, can I suggest something that might help with that?
Yes.
When you're sending that out, you might want to blind copy everybody.
Okay.
So then if they respond, they automatically are only responding to you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Anybody else.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I didn't know that did that. I have to use blind copy, but I didn't realize that they didn't respond back to everybody. Okay. Great. Thank you, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just quickly go over what I did with the Four Corners meeting, because I do attend those meetings on a monthly basis. I want to just say up front that they are really a dynamic group. I find it really inspiring when I go there, because they really work hard getting pamphlets out, organizing themselves, doing a lot of advertising, paying attention to where they advertise. I mentioned to them this time that I wish I could just sort of take that model and plunk it in different
And clone it.
and clone it and put it in your, like, I don't know whether you would do it like an association of same businesses, or since they have, they have that area, or if it's just area, but anyway, it's just a really dynamic group of people working down there. What I did talk about was that they had concerns about trash pickup in the area. And I need to, I guess, talk to somebody about that, because I guess they don't pick up at businesses, or they do pick up at businesses, but they were having concerns about trash in the area and trash pickup. They are working still with Department of Transportation, and they're going to be getting, they think, walks in the area soon. And they're also looking into wheelchair ramps and actual sidewalks, but that has to go with DOT. So that's still up in the air with them. I did send them also information, and this will sort of go into the website one, but I did send them any information that I had from Commerce RI. And yeah, it was just, they're going to be doing a tribute. They were going to have daffodil days, but decided not to do that. But somebody is going to be taking some pictures of the daffodils in the sculpture garden. And they were going to do a small tribute to James Weir, who was James and Roz are the people that essentially got that whole thing started. So that's what's new going there. And there is something coming up in May. Something called Nesterville, but I'll know more about it at the next meeting. Like, it's a very dynamic group. I'm going to move on to number 5 quickly. I did speak to Dave Roberts, who is actually a wizard at the website. What he's done for us is, if you go to the Tiverton town website, on page 1, there is a section that has 4 slides. One of the slides has logos from some of the businesses, and we're going to be rotating those, but it has logos from some of the businesses in town. If you click on that slide, it goes directly to the EDC website. So for example, it goes for business regulation and business news, and that brings them right to the EDC website, which is great, because it's sometimes hard when people have to look at that thing on the side and go to commission and go back, but we are able to go right to that. So he did that. I'm just going to look at my notes. Okay. On our website, I did get information from Commerce RI about the loans, that the newest loan program that they had, and Dave Robert put that right on the website. So any business who wants information and is looking for information, it's right on the EDC website, as well as all the links to different organizations that they might be interested in or might need to call. The other thing that Dave did, and this is something, Mike, that I'm wondering if other people in town should be more aware of this, is that if you go to the first page and you go to Discover Tiverton, a drop-down thing will happen and it'll say events. So on that, Meredith Brower, who's running the farmers market, is having a pop-up on, I forgot the day, May 3rd,
May 8th.
Whatever. And so he put that right on the events calendar for her. And so I also was thinking that might be a good place. I know I don't need to know about meetings necessarily from each division or each commission, but like the other day I was looking on Facebook, and Recreation had something down at Fogland where they were cleaning up the tables. And I said, gee, if I had known, I would have gone down there, So that kind of event would be nice to have on that website as well, so that people in town, because I know they're doing the playground too. So is there an event coming up for the playground? Is there an event, something like that could become a more dynamic rolling event calendar in town.
Well, I was going to say, it can bring the community together.
Yeah.
And because again, on Fogland, I said I would have gone down there and I wouldn't have worked, but I would have brought muffins or something, had I known.
Yeah, I agree. I just thought that that's something like that. We could use that more.
Right.
So Dave did that. So we did the local events, and okay. So he did that very well, and it was very quick. I mean, I just send them a text about something that I'd like to be on the EDC website, and within a day or two it's done. He's just an ace. It's a really good job doing that. So kudos to him. Oh, also on, okay, yeah, so that's the website. And I mean, I'm sorry, anybody else, I'm talking, but keep going. Anybody else?
Yeah, keep going.
Keep going. I'm trying to
That's
get through, because I want to get through to the discussion part. So I'm kind of sort of moving it along so we can get there a little bit. Yeah, so, because we have a lot to talk about. I'm just looking at all my notes. Okay, okay. The next one was visits to the business park. I personally finally got around to doing that. Got in my car and I said, I'm just going to drive into the business park and just sort of look at what's going on. I actually stopped at Longplex, spoke to the manager there, and I brought along with me a flyer for the farmers market, a printout from the new loans, that new loan program, and there was something else I gave him. I don't know. Our own little business card. I'm sorry, the business cards that we had made up. I
Yep.
gave him the business card, so it has the information from the EDC on it, and it has the EDC email. And within a day, he had sent me a message. He said, "This is the message. This is the email that I'd like you to use to keep us on the list." So, when you get a chance to talk to people, if you've got those cards, it really does help. And it just looks a little bit more professional when you're handing an already printed card than what I used to do, which is rip off a piece of paper and hand it to them. Just as an aside, I also, when I got that information from Commerce RI, I do have all the emails for the Four Corners people. So that went out directly to them as well. So, when we've got the information, we've got the email, we can do these things. But it was I don't know if I had not been in the Longplex place. It's
Pretty enormous.
It's huge. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Holy mackerel, that place is huge. I mean, you can play basketball there.
And a lot more at the same time.
Yeah, it really is amazing. There were kids coming out. I think it was school vacations, one of the school vacations. So there were, kids coming out. And then as I was leaving, there were people coming in to play roller hockey. And it's just a really interesting place. He's really, that took a long time coming. That was a long time.
I think it's a great addition to the town.
Yeah.
I think when we talked to him once, I forgot from what, but in any case, he has plans to put in a skating rink in the winter outside at a certain point. So that would be nice for outside skating.
I'd like a pool actually, but
well, yeah, I'd like a big indoor pool.
Yeah, me too. That would be,
people would use it, that's for sure.
That's for sure. I would love that. I did send a note to Jennifer, because I had gotten, remember I think I sent you all the maps of the EDC, the thing, and I would really just because I'd like to know where, and Mike, maybe like if you have this map, where are the two other businesses looking into going? You know what I mean? What lot numbers are they looking into taking?
Which two businesses are you talking about? Just so I'm sure.
The storage place.
Yeah, and
the wood.
The firewood.
Yeah. Let me see if I have anything that might help with that.
Yeah, I just, I'm really hard with visual stuff, and
me too.
And as I was driving around, I'm saying, "Oh, there's lot number 9. I wonder if it's that." You know what I mean? It's like, where are things going?
I did drive around it, but I haven't taken the map to then see if I can make it work.
Yeah.
Just find out which is which, and then, so there are quite a few roads in there that have utilities and so on, and quite a number of lots. But how useful each one of them is something I couldn't figure out.
Yeah, and I'm looking at all these numbers, and our recycling center is going in there, isn't it? Or is that not definite yet? Our whatever it's going to be.
Recycling, the transfer station.
Transfer station. That's the word. So where is that going to be located?
I
I
don't know what
don't know
the
if that was
status of that
finalized
is.
because that was before my time on the council. So I just
Yeah,
don't
that
know
was-
if that was finalized.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think it was. With you. I know it was discussed, but I don't know how far it got along in the
Well,
process.
I thought it was finalized because nobody seems to be talking about it anymore and the dump is about to close, I guess, but I don't know. Maybe we have magic room at the dump. I don't know.
I don't know, it's funny about the dump because it's been almost ready to close since we moved in
Yeah.
the
Oh,
70s.
I think they
We,
just got an extension on it.
yes,
I'm sorry.
yes. I don't know, I don't remember for how long, but it's for a year or less, I believe. And it was largely due to COVID, not being able to move forward. I'm just looking through my emails to see if I can.
well, while we're waiting, what was your impression when you drove through the industrial park? I drove through it last week.
Mhm.
Well,
I thought there was a lot of trash on the side, on the entrance. There was a lot of paper trash. And I thought
Oh, I-
that detracted, but I don't know how you can prevent that because I thought it looked seedy in that, because
talking
Longplex is wonderful.
Are you talking
it-
about the road where the
Yeah,
industrial,
where you go in on
industrial,
the bank.
yeah, interesting you should, well, in the back, I know when I went, the day that I went, the people from Longplex, and I don't know if it's part of their parcel or not, were actually cleaning along Industrial Way leading up to their place. There is another part that that is kind of filled with trash, and I'm not sure if that's up by where the power plant is. Was that?
well, when I went up and then there was the driveway to the power plant, but then I was trying to figure out, but then because I knew Long Place had a back access point,
Yeah.
and that's really the other roadway that comes around and
Yes.
loops
To the power
to the
plant.
other.
Power
Yeah.
plant.
And that one looks a little kind of overgrown edges and such, but I think just mowing the edges would probably make that look a little better.
But I think, I think very frankly, the spring with grass growing and mowing, the grass will cover it and the big pieces will get chopped up and I think it'll start looking better. But I thought it looked seedy.
Yeah. I don't know what the situation is in terms of maintaining at least,
Yes, who's responsible?
at least the area, like a strip by the road, kind of thing. I did see some cars up there and I was curious if somebody was looking at some lots or something, but I don't know. I really don't know any more than that.
Yeah, the information I have doesn't have any more detail
Okay.
regarding that.
Yeah. I'm just gonna write something there.
Let me just see.
The other thing that I did notice was that, I did notice a lot of rocky, even though the lots were numbered, those lots were very rocky, they were steep. And I don't know, that's why I was kind of wondering if those were the things that abutted like open space or how, it's just,
Well, rocky is one thing, ledge is another.
Yeah, I mean, where the power, you're looking for the empty lots, right? Let me just
yeah.
Let me just see if I have to turn the page so I can read it. Okay, where's the page turner on this page layout? Page layout, come on, I want to rotate it. There we go. So lot 816 is open space. From what I see here, and again, I may be slightly off on these, but that looks like that might be one of the rocky places you're talking about.
Okay.
Lot 720 again.
Yeah, I don't even have those numbers on my map. I have,
Okay.
yeah. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 open space areas. So those must be the lots that you're, those would have the numbers that you're probably talking about. My numbers basically go from 1, looks like it goes up to 66 is the highest number I have
Huh.
on the map that I have.
Yeah, me too, 606, yeah.
Yeah, that's the map I sent out because that's the map.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so I don't have that information right now.
Who would we ask?
So Jennifer probably does.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I did send her something to see, where it fit. But I also was wondering who she would also know how far the transfer station had gone, right?
Probably.
She would likely know, and Chris would know too. I just don't know offhand if we have approved a location for it. And we may very well have. We certainly haven't started to build it yet because we need to finance it first. But there may very well be a location for it that if I have that information, I have no idea what document it might be in.
I know that one of the discussions that they were having at the time was that where they were planning on putting the transfer station was on some of the better lots, and they were questioning whether that was a good use, the town recycling center, did that make sense to go there, when in fact those were probably the most buildable lots for outside businesses.
Yeah, the counter
For
argument.
revenue generating.
Well, the counter argument was that the cost of developing those lots that have ledge is almost totally prohibitive, even for the town. And, so you're caught between a rock and a hard, lot of rocks and a hard place.
Right. Welcome, Lisa. I haven't said welcome. I see your name, so I'm hoping she's here. Anyway, so that's basically the first part of the agenda. I mean, that's a status status of where we are, what we've done over the past, few weeks. But where we had left off was talking about the role of the EDC. And I think that was kind of an open-ended discussion, but how do people want to do this? You want to go down 1, 2, 3, do the bullets? Do you want to, I don't particularly care. Anybody?
I think branding Tiverton would be a good one, because I think unless we have some sort of brand that envelops everyone in town, we will never get anything like the Four Corners, as vibrant as that, to go along with the whole town. I think
it's kind of,
just for my sake, I'm just going to put, we're starting with branding. Okay. Just so I can, keep myself organized.
Oh, okay.
That's an issue. I mean, I think when you think of some towns, if I were to say Johnston, an image would come to your head. If I were to say Wickford, a different image would come to your head. If I were to say East Greenwich or Narragansett, all those, but I don't know what comes to people's heads when Tiverton comes. And yet we've got some really great things going on here. I mean, I started doing a list. I mean, Four Corners is the thing that people know in Tiverton well.
I think yes, and especially the outside world. But I think that, like, when you're sitting at Groundswell, you don't really see the average Tivertonian there. So I don't think that would represent Tiverton, even though it's a big and a very nice part of Tiverton. And yet, and this morning, for the historic reservation, we had a request from somebody who is involved with the soccer league in Fall River, and Tiverton is actually the site of the first soccer stadium in the United States. So they want us to put a plaque there. So we talked about whether or not it could be rejuvenated as a soccer stadium or even a half stadium. And if you think about it, like the Newport Gulls 20 years ago were not in Newport, but that is now a good part of Newport. I know because my son-in-law bought the league and brought it from Cranston to Newport, and then redid Cowdean Stadium. So that can be a generator for an EDC kind of focus also, is to bring a sports league in, or just the park where people will eventually play half games or whatever they're called, or rent it for just being able to play soccer on the first stadium in the United States, because some people are soccer fans. I mean, it's an up and coming sport.
Is that stadium, I'm not familiar with it. Is there a soccer stadium in Tiverton?
Well, there used to be. It's actually where Ponta Delgada used to be, and now the fish that restaurant is there. It's right at the border.
Okay.
And part of it has been built upon, and it came to my attention maybe about 10 years ago. And I actually asked Mr. Roberts, and he gave me they have the plans at the tax assessor's office, and he knows who owns it and all of that. But I wonder if we could encourage maybe bringing part of it back, because it would be something that's unifying. Sports usually unify people.
Okay. That's a great idea, but I don't think we can brand with it until it happens.
No, I know, but I think if somebody comes and approaches like for the plaque, for the man that wants to put the plaque there, I think we can take that as a beginning and maybe work from there.
Okay, so the branding would be the historical, that Tiverton has a lot of historical elements.
Right, and as a matter of fact, we can get help from, Phil, the custodian at the town hall.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually the soccer coach for UMass Dartmouth, and he knows a lot of the contacts or history of the situation. So we can draw upon him for his knowledge, I think.
Okay. So
it's just a thought.
The three things that come to my mind, I think it's a great thought, and we need to, keep an inventory of all these. Barbara, you always have amazing ideas. And it's good for us to keep that inventory, because I do think it's great. So based on what you just said, the three things, and I'm thinking about the back of the Charter Commission days, the three things I think Tiverton is known for that we would be proud of is the historical rural coastal brand that we have. I don't know if there's something else that you guys were looking for from a branding perspective, or if it's targeted towards trying to draw in industry or businesses.
Well, it has an art community too.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Vibrant art community.
Okay. So historical, rural coastal with a lot of successful arts community. Okay.
I think one of the things that occurs to me is that we have two very family-friendly beaches, and we have hiking trails, and we have areas that are good for biking. So people coming to, when I'm driving down Highland Road, I always see cars, a lot of from Massachusetts, actually, especially now during COVID time, have parked at Fort Barton, and people are hiking through Fort Barton. People are hiking through, Pardon Gray, all over the place. There are a lot of good areas to get out and be with nature. I mean, even and our beaches, even though they're small, I think are kind of really family friendly, because they're the kind of beaches you can bring little kids to, because they're not the ones that are going to knock you over with waves. They're
Exactly.
plus we have, I mean, I've seen people down at Fogland, aside from the beach, people are sailboarding, kayaking. You know, way back when, at one point, there was even a triathlon in Tiverton, which I thought was great. And
So recreational would be another element. Okay. I do know that and I haven't been working in Providence because of COVID for over a year, but when people would ask me where I'm from, because most people were not from Tiverton, at the building I worked at, they say, "Oh, Tiverton, yeah." Two things I used to hear a lot. One was, "You have a casino there now, right?" And the other one that I didn't hear as much, but I always thought was really interesting is, I heard there's really good, to your point, Renee, I heard there's a beach that's one of the best in New England for the windsurfing or sailboarding, and that's the Fogland Beach.
Yes, exactly. I think what we should do also is emphasize the fact, if we want to attract outsiders, is that we're not that far from Newport, but that we are much more low keyed, and we do have all those hiking trails, and there's no hustle and bustle, so you can bring a family. It's not as expensive. It's much more relaxing, and that even if you are staying in Newport, it's a nice escape, or vice versa.
I am going to this week, Rhode Island. I never get this whole Rhode Island.
It's a preservation. It's an online. Yeah.
I was there today, and I'll be there again tomorrow. And one of the things they're talking about is historic preservation is a money thing. People people like to see historic places. They like to, I think that's something that, we forget about, because we do have history here. It's not, like Paul Revere didn't ride his horse through here, but, we do have,
Well, we have King Philip, that whole King Philip, that's still one of the most important wars and losses, actually. It's one of the most outstanding wars from the early times of the country.
And with the new woke culture, that will probably be more important in the future than it has been in the past.
Yeah.
That's exactly, we will be going that way.
Hmm.
I think that we should emphasize the fact, if we are looking for monies or support, is that historical tourists usually spend about 30% more at any one location, and they are far less destructive than, let's say, a college bunch going in for, they're well-behaved people. They're not going to tear your town apart.
One of the problems I see, if we're going to be branding ourselves as a tourist destination, is I still don't think we have, I know there's a hotel associated with a casino, but we don't really have a good family-friendly, clean, nice hotel, or an
Definitely
elegant
something that
industry.
I think
Yeah.
we've thought about that. And
I think a couple of people.
the guy at Longplex definitely said that when we met with him.
Yeah.
Need a hotel. This is not
Yeah.
even close to enough,
Nope.
just to support his business.
Yeah, I've heard that from him as well. Not directly, but I've heard that he's said that.
Yeah. So what these are all great ideas, and I'm trying to think, okay, how do we get started with branding Tiverton? Where do you go? It's not like you go to the branding department and,
And that's, I think, where we need maybe some outside expertise to guide us.
Yeah, I do. Oh, you just reminded me something. Thank you, Martin. I need to, where did I put that? I got an email from Newport Chamber of Commerce. And remember how Ashley Medeiros used to come and talk to us?
Yep.
They just hired somebody, and her name is, I cannot find it.
Isabel Walsh, I think it is.
Yes, Isabel Walsh. And she's like going to be someone who, people can talk to and businesses could talk to. And I just got her name, I guess today or yesterday, from Newport Chamber of Commerce. So, that might be some place to even start thinking about, what do you do about that? How, could we get started? Yeah, it's Isabel Marsh.
March.
Was it
March.
And I think Newport itself has a little bit of rebranding to do because it's not what it was, years ago. But I have a question. I'm going to go back to my question from a few minutes ago is why are we doing this exercise? What's the objective?
Well, I think what we're trying to do is we're right now, since Mike has joined us, we're trying to sort of get a focus for the EDC in terms of where do we need to put our energies right now? What's the what's the best place for us to do? We know what we have in terms of the comprehensive plan. We had put that we were going to be, doing things with North Tiverton, and I don't have the rest of it, but North Tiverton.
Yeah, we had like 13 or more things that we want to do. I remember, yeah.
Yes, we remember. We remember that very well, don't we, Lisa? But I think that's this whole discussion is to sort of take a breath and we've been doing a lot of groundwork kinds of things like our letters and our pamphlets and all that kind of stuff, but where do we go next and what's our role in the town? So that's what this discussion is really all about, and branding was one of the things that came up.
Actually, another thing came to mind about Tiverton is, and especially about 30 years ago, Tiverton was known for its stables, for its horses and horse shows and stuff like that. And that sort of disappeared, but I know that for a while there, like on Main Road and that, there used to be almost weekly horse events for young people. And people were breeding horses, and it was quite a horsey community. And usually horse people have a lot of money to spend, so that would be something that we could encourage. And it would draw in a whole different, would draw in the farmers and that kind of population.
And that's actually a really good point too. And I used to bring my daughter here from New Hampshire, and she spent a couple weeks with my mother and go to horseback riding camp here in Tiverton. I think it was called Rosewood Stables at the time.
Yeah,
Roseland.
Roseland, and then there was the one on Main Road behind near Smitty's garage.
The Shamrock, the Clatta. Yeah. But I guess my question would be, and I think it's a great idea, and I think we need to do it. I'm just trying to understand, are we trying to brand ourselves and focus our activities so that we can increase our commercial tax base and bring in tax revenue? Or are we going to try and brand ourselves and create and advocate for the community that I know a lot of people were trying to define in the charter as being like the coastal rural, like you said, Barbara, with the nice arts and the horses, and primarily bring in tourists and focus on tourist revenue, or both? I'm just trying to get an idea.
Well, you know what? I'm not sure that they're actually mutually exclusive, but what in my head I see happening is that I think what we're also trying to do when we set this kind of idea of Tiverton being, and this I'm speaking for myself, not for anybody else, when I try to think about bringing in businesses, I want to bring in businesses that are compatible with what we're trying, what people feel the town is.
The environment that we want to have.
Yes. Yeah, so for example, when I think of a business that would be appropriate for Tiverton, I really don't see a waste, to energy thing happening. You know what I mean? It's like I'd like to see more, maybe some more technology. I'd like to see, some light manufacturing, like that has something to do with sailboats. I'd like to see, maybe some sports stuff coming in because it's a good area. That's kind of the way I see it growing. Because I think if we have an image of what we are, or, that can sort of help drive what we're looking for when we're encouraging businesses to come in.
Sure.
That's kind of what my head is at. That's why.
And depending what we focus on, then the other elements we have to consider our infrastructure to support that
yeah.
vision. And there's a lot of other things. So you're right, starting with the branding is good, but I just feel like this is a good brainstorming session, but we probably should get to a point where we can define what we think our vision is, get buy-in for it, and then actually build that out to an Economic Development Commission action list.
So I wanted to listen for a while, and I'm sorry, I also had a slight emergency at work that I had to deflect my attention to temporarily. So one of the things that I sent to Renee, we do have on the agenda for next Monday's council meeting, several items that relate to what we have listed here. Let me just talk about them for a second once I find where they are. So one is, it's labeled as discussion of role of Economic Development Commission and possible vote on a couple of things. And these are things that came out of our discussions earlier here. One is the joint town council, EDC, planning board, zoning board workshop to include the town administrator, planner, and building/zoning officials. A second is development of a system of ongoing communication between and among EDC, planning, zoning, administrative, planner, building, zoning officials relative to development, especially regarding business development. And then the third is including EDC, and Renee, you have these in those documents, so you don't have to take hard notes on those.
No, but I did send the, I did. So you should have, you had sent me 4. And
Yep.
and because you said I could forward them, I did, because I wanted to make sure everybody saw what we were talking about, because I thought it was relevant. I mean, it was going to come up in the discussion. So you should have an email that has 4 attachments. Yes?
Let me double check.
No, I'm talking to like Barb.
I'm not, I'll have to go look because.
Okay, all right. Okay, I will. I thought I sent them to you guys. So if you
don't remember.
Okay.
Was it like about a few days ago, Renee?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did get an email with 4 attachments.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, good.
Not crazy, Renee.
Thank you. Sometimes it's like, I think I send things and then I go to my thing and it's like I haven't forwarded it yet. It's like, oh my God,
Yeah, I think I sent them to you on Monday, so it was either probably Monday or Tuesday that you sent them to others.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So that's okay. So one is that, and it's also the last piece is including EDC in development and implementation of plan to fully develop the industrial/business park.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also outlined how the charter gives you some specific roles, acting as a liaison with the Rhode Island Economic Development Corporation, which is now Commerce, in order to affect state plans on the local level, assist town businesses, particularly those in marine or agriculture, related to tax relief and low-cost loans or grants for business startup expansion expenses related to renovations, assist businesses to access the benefits associated with the enterprise zone, and assist in the search for an attraction of businesses, which would be consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. So I put that in there just to highlight for folks, because I know sometimes people don't read old documents, what the role is defined as. And I said, as the council liaison to the EDC, I've engaged in discussions regarding how the council and administrator can support the EDC in carrying out its responsibilities. So that will generate conversation on Monday, and look to see how to move forward with those pieces. Another one, and I want to get to this. I want to find the right one next because it really gets into some of the pieces of this discussion. So also on Monday. Aaron Donovan Boyle, who's the exec director of the Newport Chamber, is going to be giving a brief presentation about the chamber, about the various subsidiaries, like Connect Greater Newport, like Discover Newport, those types of things. Excuse me.
Mike, did you say that's on Monday as well?
It's on Monday. So the council meeting's at 7. I can't tell you what time this might come up because it's under new business. So we have, I can tell you, well, I can give you a sense after I look back at the draft agenda, which is not public yet.
Okay.
Mike, what prompted Erin to come to the town council?
I asked her to.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to say, I feel like you're supporting us quite a bit just by listening. So,
well, yeah, I mean, as I've said, I think this is a missed opportunity for us in terms of how we make use of the EDC. And I also go back with Erin for probably at least 10 or more years. She was a lobbyist at the State House, overlapping with the same time that I was there working on behalf of my state agency. So her clients generally did not overlap with my agency's work, but everybody up there, you have to find something to do between hearings and the like while you're waiting for them to come out of session. So we all got to know each other pretty well. So I talked about the Newport Chamber and its subsidiaries focus on supporting businesses in Newport communities to improve success and improve the lives of the residents. There are many opportunities Tiverton can derive from membership, and this is an opportunity to explore those. One of the challenges we have is that, and Erin hasn't raised this, but I'm sure at some point she would have to, Tiverton, while some businesses may be, Tiverton removed ourselves from membership of both this, and I don't know if we are ever a member of Connect Newport, but
I don't know, but we don't pay I know we haven't paid it for probably about at least 3 years. I think we haven't paid.
It was, and I will never try to bag somebody, but it was because of a couple of council members who were leading the council in previous years who decided it wasn't a good investment. I want to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood between the two entities, because I'd like to see us join both, because Connect Newport is a 501c3 subsidiary of the chamber. It's somewhere around 12 to 15,000, I think. Don't hold me to that. So that's going to be a big part of the discussion. And one of the things, so I spent some time meeting with Erin recently too, and she talked a lot about Connect Newport with me. And one of the things that they have, and I don't think I misheard her. So they have an agency that's based in Pittsburgh called Fourth Economy that has done a lot of work with them, especially with Connect Greater Newport. And Fourth Economy is really a community-focused strategic planning agency. So they really try to work from the ground up as much as possible and get to know a community, strengths and weaknesses and challenges, and figure out, help the community figure out where to go from a strategic planning effort. What I appreciate with them, my background is I'm a social worker by training, and they have a couple social workers on their staff. So it really tells me that that's important to them. So that piece, I believe, would be for us to get some assistance from them. I'm not sure exactly what it might be, but we'd have to be members, would be at no cost for us. So, Lisa, what you talked about in terms of really having some greater strategic conversations, I think that would fit into that. So that's another one of the agendas. I kind of took over the agenda for that night. And then is a discussion about establishing a schedule of periodic meetings of the chairs of all boards and commissions. And we had that conversation at our last meeting. Suggest that be facilitated by the town administrator, because all those really from a day-to-day basis fall under him. I mean, certainly that would include the council president. I would see us inviting, for example, also the school committee and the housing authority, although they are separate entities from town government itself. Probably even invite the sewer commission, because again, and the water commissions, because those are separate entities. That would be their choices, not ours. And really looking at how effective communication is critical. And because much of our work outside of the regular business of government is done through volunteers like all of you, I think it's important to be able to have those conversations. And then the last one, did I get the right one up? Oh, and as we were talking amongst, at the last meeting here, and I was dealing with a couple other issues, I decided to take a look at the timeline section, if you will, of actually it's the actual plan document near the end of the comprehensive plan. And it lays out very nicely goals, tasks, who are the responsible entities, and timeframes. Not by date, but by short-term, long-term, I think is and ongoing. I could be very wrong, but I'm not sure that many people have picked that up since it was published in 2018 and really looked at where we're at with any of those. So my desire in this discussion is to look at having the administrator set up a timeline for the council to look at those sections and work with the respective employees and or committees, commissions, boards to say, okay, where are we with this goal? Have we done anything? What do we need to do? If we haven't, are there barriers to it? Maybe we've finished it and we just haven't highlighted it. And if it, especially if it's a significant goal, if we finished it, we should, applaud ourselves as a town that, we've gotten that done. And that also helps prepare for the next comprehensive plan committee to be able to look at and say, okay, here's of the, I don't know, I'm just going to make up a number because I don't remember, of the 50 goals, let's say, that are in the plan, 25 were fully accomplished. 20 were, 80% accomplished. Another 10 and 10 were at some other stage of accomplishment, or maybe 10 were just never started. And also trying to have why those things may still be in flux. So that's, I think, an important conversation to have. So to me, those all kind of meld into the various items on the agenda. And I'm hopeful that I can convince my fellow counselors that it makes sense for us to invest in a membership with the chamber and with Connect Newport, so that excuse me, so that we can use them and the opportunities they present us to move forward. And I think Isabel will be very helpful with that. I attended the municipal liaison meeting of the chamber yesterday and talked about some of these things and virtually met Isabel. And I think she's maybe a week or two on the job. I'm not quite sure. She was doing something else for them, but in this position, she's maybe a week or two on the job.
Yeah.
So I would hope that if you can make it on Monday, Renee, if you can, I want to at least invite you into the meeting proper, because most people sit outside and then we have to invite in and help talk through these things. That would be great.
Okay.
So we would be able to observe, in other words, the rest of it.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll see about whether or not I can. I mean, obviously, we try to facilitate the conversation with the chair of the respective committee, but it doesn't mean others can't
Yeah,
come
no,
in.
I'm fine with other people speaking up, so it's not a problem with me.
Now, Mike, you mentioned that you would invite the school, members of the school committee or whatever. on the inviting all boards and commissions? Is it because you think that the children in school in Tiverton are not really taught very much about the town, and if they were, maybe they would have to have more pride or connectivity or whatever to the town, or why exactly? Because we actually talk about that at the historic preservation and at the Arts Council. We have done things to try to educate the public somewhat about Tiverton. This summer we handed out, or last summer I should say, we handed out placemats that have a history of Tiverton. It's like a coloring page, etc., that outside restaurants could hand out outside or put it in a takeout bag or something like that. And we are planning to have a second edition of that, getting information about the town out there, so that would sort of be a unifying knowledge of the town that people would have. Because I really don't think that a lot of people in South Tiverton even know or care about King Philip and our old history or anything else. But because there's really no news media anymore, nobody reads on a regular basis a daily newspaper that has anything to do with the town. Like it used to be that the Newport Daily News had a Tiverton page, so did the Herald News and all of that, and even the Providence Journal. So I think you lost this pool of drawing people together by having the paper.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective is that just because the school and public housing are not formally part of the town part of government, they are still part of the town, and we should invite them to that type of a meeting. Whether or not they see it as a good use of their time, that's up to them. But I think that's a piece, because, for example, we are, as a town, we hold the requirement to meet affordable housing guidelines. But the Public Housing Authority deals with public housing. And a lot of the affordable housing would come through an entity like that. So I just think that's another example of why it's important to have those voices at the table too. And I really see, I mean, again, I would leave that up to the administrator, but I see it as much a communication opportunity on a regular basis as anything. And, maybe people will find out, oh, well, you're working on, something over here, Harbor Commission, and, that you want to do to entice boat owners to come to the harbor. Well, we're thinking in the EDC to do something that might amplify that positively. That's where I think part of the conversation misses. Certainly individual committee chairs will come before the council at various times for whatever they're working on, but it doesn't mean that others are aware of that. And I just think sometimes, and certainly there's a little bit of overlap between membership. Barbara, you're on a couple, I know Martin's on a couple different, I don't know about Renee and Lisa, but that helps, but it doesn't really make that communication tree as effective as what it could be.
Yeah, I think it just always makes sense to have the interested parties at least touch base with each other. I know when you were like with housing, it occurs to me as you're talking about housing that you hear about the housing authority, but then you go to a planning board and you have developers that are there that are using the new comprehensive permit because it allows them to get more housing units, and that's affordable housing. And it just, how does that all fit in? Because we've got these different developers going before the planning board and using that as the goal. And I don't know how that fits with housing, where that fits with the housing authority. You know what I mean? The building of houses and the affordable housing, how does that go with the housing authority? I, I just don't understand. It's interesting to me because I just see, and affordable housing is one of those things that keeps coming up, because when I have gone to the planning board, we've got some pretty big developments going up in North Tiverton. And the reason they're so big is because of this comprehensive, that's the first thing they come in with, is this comprehensive permitting, because it allows them to have a higher density. And they use the affordable housing units as the way to get higher density. And, I feel in some ways it's unfair to poor North Tiverton, where, they're getting hammered with all these, big developments up there. And I don't know, it's just, where does
well, in the long run, depending on how many children are generated in these developments, it's not a positive for our economic development. We have to find businesses to offset those taxes that are needed to pay for the schools, because the houses don't pay for
No, they
so
don't.
many units that generate so many children that are in a densely packed area.
Right. And speaking of branding, I know on the town Facebook pages and stuff, people make jokes that the only businesses the town lets in are Dollar General and gas stations. And a lot of the housing is like affordable housing. So that's not, it's part of any healthy town, but I'd not like it to be our defining,
Right.
brand either.
Right. Well, they say the Dollar Generals usually seek communities that are poorer, and because they offer a wider range of things than, let's say, the Dollar Tree, which is more craft oriented or whatever. But when you read
Don't
about
get me wrong,
this,
I shop there.
No, I do too.
yeah, I think everybody picks up something, but they usually say, well, and Tiverton has 2 of them, no less. So I don't know what that says about us. I didn't comment on it. A number of people ask me, why does Tiverton have 2 Dollar Generals? It's
There
usually,
actually is a surprising amount of conversation about it. And the reason I was thinking of it is because we did start off our discussion portion of the meeting talking about branding. So that's something else, to consider as we're crafting our vision of a brand.
Yeah, I think we missed an opportunity. That's one of the things that I think about every now and then is we missed an opportunity when we had Ranger School to not be a little bit more forward thinking and turn it into what they did in Newport with the Innovation Center with one of their schools.
Yep.
Like, oh God, why didn't we do that? That would have been so amazing, because it was a perfect location and it was exactly what they've done in Newport. It's it's an innovation center in Newport.
or like Hope in Maine, in Warren.
In Warren.
Yeah.
Same thing. Hope in Maine, Innovation Center in Newport.
Well, I'm going to come in from left field a little bit, but I will share with you that my daughter got engaged about a week and a half ago.
Hey,
Yeah. And she has been working almost like 2 full-time jobs, one her real job and one looking at wedding venues and asking mom to help get information and price them out for her. And we've been down in Newport. They thought, because they're saving for a house, that they'd try and be frugal. So they drove up to northern New Hampshire and Maine, because they said, well, we'll have a barn wedding in Maine and that's trendy and we'll save lots of money. Barn weddings in Maine are averaging $50,000 to $60,000 an event. Barn weddings, not on the water in Maine. So one of the things I started thinking about, and I was going through Newport and I was thinking, Tiverton is coastal. There are sections in Tiverton that would make the most amazing wedding venues, and weddings right now, most of them run between like $40,000 and $140,000, and there's a lot of pent up
demand
for them as well. So I have no idea if anybody inside or outside of Tiverton is interested in investing in a wedding venue for Tiverton, but that is something that I think would definitely bring in revenue for the town and a lot of money for the investor as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there because it is so beautiful here in Tiverton.
I will tell you that we've approved in the last 2 meetings, I think it was, we've approved 2 house-based weddings because people couldn't hold them elsewhere. And we have another one on our agenda for, and we don't have to approve the wedding per se. It depends on what they want. So usually it's for a sound variance.
Sound variance, yeah.
And so we have another one on our agenda for Monday.
Yeah, I mean, Newport has a little whole industry going with wedding venues. And as far as I know, Tiverton just really doesn't have much of anything. So that would be an area that I think would be easier than, be less of a time frame if someone was interested in investing in it and would give returns fairly quickly and increase the revenue and tax base for the town as well.
I know they can do small weddings down at Four Corners in the meeting room, and they have, that actually was discussed briefly. I think Roz Weir is looking at starting to book some small weddings down at Four Corners in the meeting room.
I've seen them actually happening, that they walk across the corner, just in driving by.
Yeah,
It's very picturesque.
yeah.
They had a
I'm
horse and
thinking
carriage once.
big
Yeah.
tent up
Bigger.
from Fogland
Right.
Beach. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking like 200 people in a tent in a rolling field with water views.
Yeah.
But it could be any type, like you said, it could be any.
We could have
manner
them
of
at the
types of things.
beaches if Tiverton could get into the business. Imagine setting up down at Fogland.
The season for weddings might interfere with the people trying to go to the beach.
Oh, that's the issue there.
Yeah, so I
But
was
if-
thinking more like where you live, Barbara.
Pardon,
Right.
Roz.
You would want that.
We've had quite a number of neighborhood weddings, and
Yeah.
inevitably, because they're really on our beach, they invite us to come, and it's really very lovely.
They're lovely, but you'd have to, again, with noise variances and everything else. So I was teasing you about your neighborhood because I know you have a lovely neighborhood, but something like that would be just amazing.
Wonder if that's something, I wonder if that's something, not conservation, the land trust, I think, works with Pardon Gray.
I say, yeah, a barn.
So something, well, they have, you're talking about open fields. I'm thinking, well, they
Yeah.
do have open fields there, but I wonder if that's something that they've
Well,
ever.
with Pardon Gray, the open field is,
Usually hay, right?
yeah, it's hay, and so you'd have to, change its use. And there are not insignificant restrictions
Right.
to the deed with
Okay.
Pardon Gray.
Great.
Yeah, there are deed restrictions there, and we contract with the farmer to take care of those fields. So he uses that. I mean, he does it with pretty much at low cost to us. So he uses that to supplement.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
And aren't they trying to expand that little area where the information is at Pardon Gray? I thought I read someplace that they were going to expand that.
Well, we
And
actually,
add bathrooms or something. So that would actually
no,
could be
that's,
tied into putting up a tent.
we actually had looked into that, but it is not allowed to build any kind of structures. It's a stretch just putting a little addition on that thing to put the lawnmower in.
Well,
And
I
we had
mean-
an idea of building a barn or some kind of thing.
Right, I thought
And,
I read that. Yeah.
And DEM was not exactly enthusiastic about the idea.
Right, so it's one of those things where maybe someone needs to sit down and look at a map and look at zoning and see, okay, is there a potential? And it doesn't have to be a strip of land, although that would be lovely, but even someone with a barn who their
Well,
farm
you
is as
could have-
successful as they like, maybe they could expand out to doing.
Well, you could approach Pete Peckham because they have the potato farms and they have the bed and breakfast in the old house. So they do have some very great vistas from the potato fields down the south.
That's
So
true.
he might
You might
Jump
be
with
able to
the
convert
idea
4 or
if
5
it's,
acres to weddings and make more money than potatoes.
And potatoes.
Yeah.
Could be. So just a thought. I know that's just one piece of a much
Awesome.
larger picture, but
As soon as the wedding, Lisa, we'll see what we could do.
oh my gosh, I am newly awakened to the whole wedding market with everything. It really opened
Well,
my eyes.
actually, our oldest daughter was married on the battleship. That is an interesting venue if you're at all into battleships in World War II.
No,
But it
that's
was a
pretty cool.
memorable wedding because then everybody in the basin, all the boats had their pumps going, and the water was, it was very nice, and the whole boat was decorated with. So that's a venue that you might think of.
There's a thought we could build a wedding ship and dock it somewhere in Tiverton.
A wedding.
Well, Tiger was
Wedding
married
yacht.
down at the
A
Aquatic
wedding
Club,
yacht.
which also has a nice view.
Sorry, Mike,
All
we're
right,
getting a little
back
off
to business.
course.
It's okay.
Wait, I was just gonna, I'm looking at number 7, and as we're talking, we really are, Mike has put like bullet number 2 is basically going to be talked about also with the town council. Bullet number 3 is the town council. We've talked about branding. The one thing that there's a few that we've missed. So one of the things that bullet number 1 is funding for the EDC. And I know what we've done in the past is that, I think this year the budget I put in something like $1,200, and it was based on printing and, bless you, and pamphlets and things like that, just re-upping all the things that we handed out over the time, because we didn't have a specific project to sort of earmark a fund for. But I know in the past, one of the things they've done is the money for the Chamber of Commerce was in the EDC budget, because it used to be that there were budgets of $5,000, $6,000, something $1,000, and that was where they got the money for the Chamber of Commerce, just as an aside.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's what they would want to do, or, but I think it's kind of hard for us to come up with a budget if we don't have a specific
Right.
project.
I
So,
think that's what this conference with the council is all about, is to develop,
yeah.
a plan of what and kind of marching orders, I would kind of guess is what I'm looking for, as to where we need to spend our time and effort.
Right.
And then it's up to us to follow through on those.
Yeah, because the reason we were able to do the signage in North Tiverton was because there was a $5,000 sign, line budget item, but
Yeah.
strictly restricted for signage. So if we
Yeah.
maybe,
There's still some money there, so in
Yeah, there
fact, most of it's still there.
but you know what? I asked about that because I said, what about if we could do some signs elsewhere, like at another entrance, or could we use some of that money for the sign for the industrial park? And I was sort of, no, that was strictly restricted for North Tiverton, but I think we could look at that.
But I think you could do another one on Stafford. I think,
Yeah.
an entrance, entering Tiverton on Stafford, and have it be a bigger sign that would kind of dramatize the fact you're not in Fall River anymore.
Right.
North Tiverton.
Yeah. So that's another little section of money that we've kind of tapped into for a little bit. So just
Good.
Is the, and again, I'm not part of the budget committee, but casino, I know didn't come through last year. Is that back online to be contributing to the town budget this year?
So we are getting money in. It certainly is below what was anticipated. We're still tracking how much that is. So that's still a fiscal challenge for us.
Okay.
I am chairing a soon to be, and actually, I'm wondering, Lisa, I'm going to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer me today. So a committee I'm chairing is trying to be developed. We're trying to get some town members, and I'd like to get a mix of folks from different groups. to look at how we set aside that money so that it's most useful. And I think I talked about this a little bit before, is, what kind of buckets do you create, and what goes in those buckets? And how long do we wait to start spending that money so that we know that we're not spending in anticipation of funds, which would, if that had happened this year, the town would really be hurting, because we would have budgeted for another $4 million or whatever, and been out that money and had to find it somewhere else. So what's the right amount to have first as the cushion? Do you only start spending 1 year's worth of income? Do you start spending 2 years worth of income? That kind of thing.
Did I tell you what I do for a living?
No.
Renee, did you tell him?
No, but you go right ahead, Lisa. I think it'll be wonderful.
Well, I just thought it was funny because I just finished working on a strategic plan for my division at Citizens Bank.
Oh, okay.
I manage all their budgets and I do their financial strat plans for, depending on usually for a 3-year period. So I thought maybe she told you that, and that's why you threw my name out there.
No, Lisa, I did not throw you under the bus.
So if you're interested, there is a form, the regular form for getting on committees, that's on the town website. We are hoping to be able to start appointments at the next meeting in April, right? Actually, it would be the first meeting in May, because we didn't get applicants. There were a couple people who we thought were, but they didn't. And, I have my own perspective of how to divvy it up, but I, want it to be a conversation. The desire on the part of this council, I know, is to use it wisely and effectively, so that it helps us with our tax rate over the long haul, and doesn't. And I know this is important to a lot of people, but from my perspective, at least, if you put all your money out for immediate tax relief, then you still have the challenges that the town has to fund over the future. So at some point, the best example I have is years ago, we lived in a very large condo complex in Milford, Massachusetts. And we hadn't had an increase in the condo fee for 10 years, I think. And it was a relatively low condo fee, but we had a pool, we had a tennis court, we had a playground, all that needed significant repairs. A lot of our buildings needed significant repairs. So what was happening was every couple of years there'd be significant assessments done. So in essence, you were paying for that stuff outside of the fee, but you still end up paying for it. And you also had your heat included in your fee. So that was a bonus with it, your heat, not your electricity, but your heat. So when I got on the board and I became the president of the board, we increased the fee probably by 50%, maybe a little bit more, because there was the need. But we presented it to show that there was a need, and that how that would help over the long term and put in a plan where there would be less significant increases over time. So, $1 or $2 an increase a year isn't as significant, or a month, I should say, as it is, getting a $5,000 or $6,000 increase in 1 year. So that's, I think where the wise expenditure comes into play. Because you're always going to have the roads, you're always going to have snow removal, you're always going to have sidewalks. And, again, sidewalks, we have great sidewalks in North Tiverton where I live, but you can't use them in the winter after snows for weeks because we don't have, now I know it's on a state road, so there might be some other issues there, but the issue is why have them if you can only use them effectively part of the year?
When you need them the most in the winter.
Yeah. So if you're interested, that form's on the website. If you go to the homepage, and I think it's right.
There's something about applications or something.
Right, it's easy to get to. I had to get to it for the Arts Council, so if I can find it, anyone can. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I don't see, but yeah, please.
It sounds interesting. I am like in the middle of just starting the wedding planning, but if she
Oh,
makes
yeah, that's right.
if she makes some decisions quickly, that's something that I'll take a look at, because it might actually dovetail well with the EDC
Mhm.
work as well.
Absolutely.
Where do we need to go right now?
I would suggest that, let's see what the discussion looks like on Monday.
Okay.
That will give us a better sense going into your next meeting in May, and better direction. All the answers won't be there, but at least I think we're going to move forward a little bit better.
Yeah, I
Certainly understanding what the council feels and the conversations that develop from this meeting is going to be really a huge help, I think.
mhm. Yeah, I think, I mean, I think we've done, a lot of some groundwork. There was a lot of things that, little things that we sort of got done that should have been done ages ago, but we're still missing a focus, I think, at this point. And I think that's what we need to be working on, is like, what's our focus, and what does the town want our focus to be?
Right.
That's where we're at. I mean, and I think that's important. I mean, so we can be I will be at the town council. Everybody, please, if you can be at the town council meeting on Monday as well.
So we can just click in and just observe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's live videotape. You just go and you can watch it, and
And you can raise your hand. There's a way to raise your hand. There's a chat
Right.
box. You can put something in or questions, I guess it is.
yeah. And I think that will be helpful, because I think it's important that we all share the same information. I'd like everybody to be on the same page and hear the same thing at the same time, so there's no, questions. It doesn't always have to come through me. That's really
You're very good at it though, Renee.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, but that's nice, but don't try that again. I know what you're doing, Lisa. How do you think I got you helping me with the comp plan?
Yeah,
All right.
that was an adventure.
That was an adventure. In terms of this evening, the last thing is what are we going to be talking about for next month? And I think this Monday meeting will give us a lot to talk about for next month. So again, we can, I will send out a request for anything that you want to add on the agenda. You will be hopefully at the meeting. I will be at the meeting, so we can just work from there and start adding things to our agenda for the next month.
Great.
Sounds good.
Interesting meeting.
Does anybody have any other questions or something they want to bring up, just in case there is, it's something that they've thought about for the next meeting anyway?
I think you guys had a great list for the council meeting on Monday, but I know one of the things that has been a frustration to me, and that I know is on the agenda, so if we can just make sure that it does get enough attention, is I do feel like the planning board, for example, is very busy, and we don't always have a really good idea of what they're considering, what's going on, what they're reviewing and approving, and that totally impacts the economic landscape of the town. So having the better coordination and communication with all committees, specifically the planning board, I think would be really helpful.
I agree. Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, I try actually to, I've put myself on the Secretary of State website, and they send you a notification. so that if you're, you know, if you're interested in the planning board, they will send you a notification when the planning board puts their agenda up. So you can do it that way, but yeah, that's a very important thing, because I just feel like, you know, they're a very powerful board, basically, because they're the gatekeepers.
Mhm.
I had one thing to at least share is that my wife Seal is on the Tiverton Library. I forgot the boosters, and they're actually going to be able. Yeah, they're going to actually be able to meet in the library, and so I just wonder, maybe that is something that in the, maybe not in the next month, but in the next little bit, maybe we could get back to meeting there.
That would be great. I
Yeah.
100% agree with that. That works much easier.
Does everyone have their full vaccines?
I'm clear.
Okay, yeah, I just got my second one on Sunday.
Yeah, and
I'm
I
all-
think
I'm
they're going to
all
meet in the
vaccinated.
big room, you know, so you can spread out. You're not going to be in the like the conference room for meetings. It's going
Yeah.
to be in the
Yeah.
larger room.
Yeah.
The only thing, and I'll try to remember to get this on agenda, we're still waiting on state guidance, is even though and this is a small board, and my guess is you don't often have other people attending
Mhm.
or that many.
Maybe one occasionally.
So we always have to, so for example, we talked a little bit in one of our planning sessions for the council agenda, you know, at what point can we go back in? But what we have to think about in smaller boards is not as big of an issue, is even if we can be present in the room, there's
Right.
going to be a time period where we have to limit the number of people who can be in the room. So we still have to have a mechanism to allow others to participate and might want to be here who we can't let in the room. So again, I'm not concerned about this group, but I think I'd like to have us as a council and the administrator try to provide some guidance to folks on that. So
Mike, do you have any idea of when the town hall will actually be open for business? Any indication from the state that?
not at this point. No.
Well,
I think you have to see the infection rate go way down.
And Tiverton has one of the highest, Tiverton and Newport have high infection rates right now.
It's shocking. I'm finding that, and all I can think of is that we just have a lot of crossing back and forth, because Fall River does too. Fall River and New Bedford are two of the highest places in Massachusetts, and we have that cross back and forth all the time.
Yeah, in Newport, it's likely a lot of the restaurant industry workers, and there's a high Hispanic population. That's part of the reason they did the vaccination clinic down there today. You know, so they're trying to address that from that end. And a lot of the restaurant workers, you know, as we know, are low income workers. So, you know, they, for whatever reason, haven't been getting vaccinated at the same rate. So I think that's part of it. And I know the restaurant industry is trying to work through that as well. But yeah, we still have a pretty high rate.
Yeah.
By the way, I looked at the agenda. I'm going to say that the earliest we'll probably get to these items on Monday is 8 o'clock with the other items that are in front of it. I could be wrong, but
That's not, that's really doable. I remember trying to, you know, get to an agenda item that I was on, and it was like,
What was
you know,
that? We did
pushing 9:30, and I go to bed at 9 o'clock. So
that's like, yeah, that was this whole sign thing. Remember that? We were like, oh Lord, just to ask permission to do the sign, we were there till 9:30.
yeah.
Oh, all right. All right, everybody. It is now 8:33. Does anybody?
Move to adjourn.
Time to brush your teeth.
Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up for next month, or did we not cover things, or just last chance, guys?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. And I will try to get these minutes up and ready and whatever, and hopefully we'll all be there on Monday, or at least part of Monday, to see what's going on with town council. So
great. Thank you.
Thank you for a nice meeting.
Can we have a motion to adjourn at 8:34?
All right,
So move.
motion seconded.
Okay,